Hey everyone, it's good to see you guys. I hope everyone's doing well. Today is Friday, and I'm really excited to get into what I have to share today. So, today we're going to go into what is the sixth love language. Now, the sixth love language, we've all heard of the five love languages. So, there's five love languages, different ways that people communicate, different ways that they can be present and be connected with another individual. But they recently added a sixth love language. So I'm going to bring up some of the one of the first love languages, and I'm going to go through all of them. But then for this, I'm going to share with you guys the sixth love language that they added, and it's really counterintuitive. The sixth love language feels more like something that you wouldn't think you need in order to have a healthy relationship. So we all know the five love languages, and I'm just going to bring those up and review them here. So the first love language is words of affirmation. So that's number one. And words of affirmation really comes down to affirming your partner's needs, listening to what it is that they need, hearing them out, affirming and validating them. And we all need validation. We all need affirmations and support. That's part of being human. So the first love language is affirming another person, listening to them, being with them, supporting them, maybe complimenting them, giving them the heart energy that they need. The second love language is gifts. So just gift giving. And it can be in the form of time, it can be in the form of energy, it can be in the form of presence. However, you choose to give gifts, that's fine. It can be maybe you bought something, but whatever it is, that's that you're giving them something. It can be something emotional, it can be something physical. It's something that makes them feel seen, that makes them feel validated. Hey, Jenny, and makes them feel loved. The third love language here is acts of service. So acts of service are, maybe taking out the trash or maybe washing the dishes or just doing something really special and nice for that other person. Now, if you're just joining me in the live, we're going to get into the sixth love language because they added a sixth one, but I'm not going to do that until near the end after I recover the five, just in case anyone hasn't heard the five love languages. So the third one is acts of service. Hey, Angela, good to see you. And when it comes to acts of service, it can really be anything that just shows that you care about the other person, that you're thinking about them, that you're, that they're on your mind. It's just letting that other, your spouse or your significant other know that you want them to have a better existence. And then number four is quality time. Why is quality time important? Quality time can be anything from just spending pure present time with them. So being very focused, being attentive, being present, not thinking of anything else outside of the conversation. It can be taking a walk together. Maybe it can be reading together, but it's just spending time and space with that other individual because you really love them and because you appreciate them. So the fourth act of love is really just spending quality time, not just spending time, but quality time. There's a difference between the two. I meet a lot of individuals who spend time with their partners, and I've coached plenty of them, and I've been one of them at one point in my life, where they're spending time with them, but it's not quality time. Their mind is off thinking about something, they're not present, and the other person in the relationship can feel that. We can always feel how present people are with us, whether they're really there or not. And so if someone isn't really present with you, there's no quality or there's no substance behind that. So it's really important to spend quality time with our significant other. That's another love language. And then the fifth love language is physical touch. It's that somatic piece. It's that sense of being loved, that sense of being appreciated that's expressed through the body. It can be kissing, it can be touching, it can be hugging, anything like that. But it's just communicating to that other individual at a somatic bodily level that you care for them, that you care for them, that you want to be connected with them, that you enjoy your time with them. And that's important. It's important to have that. I think a lot of the times there's some individuals who don't like to open up, or sometimes in my coaching relationship, someone will say, well, I don't do too much of PDA, like public display of affection. I don't like people coming on to me or opening up to me or giving me a hug. But really, it's just a form of communication. It's just saying that I really care for you, I love for you, and it's really that simple. So physical touch, holding hands, kissing, having sex, any form of physical intimacy, that's all a love language. Now, I'm really excited to share the sixth love language with you because no one actually really thinks about this too much. It's really counterintuitive, but the sixth love language that we have is space. It's being there with someone and having the connection and then being away from them. And here's why space is so important to love and how it's actually a language in and of itself. I'm going to bring up my whiteboard and share this with you. And if you guys have any questions or comments or thoughts as we go into this, feel free to just share it and let me know, and we'll get deeper into it. So the reason why space is really key, is really a key way to share and show love, is because we value things when we have breathing room. We value things when we have space. So the sixth love language is space itself. It's the time apart that you spend away from the person that you love. This is how space works. Space is really interesting. Let's say this is you. Okay, we'll say this is you over here and you're happy and having a good old day. And then let's say that this is your partner over here. And apparently your partner has a bigger head. Okay, so let's say this is your partner. The space between you guys, there's actual, if there's no space between you guys, then what happens is there's no value. So I'm going to put no value. No value. Okay? So without any space, we don't have value. Have you ever noticed what happens when you have too much of one thing? When you have too much of one thing, typically what happens is you start to take it for granted, and then it just becomes a given. Like, oh, I always have this. This is always here. And whenever we start taking something for granted, we don't appreciate it. We don't appreciate that person. We don't appreciate that object. We don't appreciate that thing. So space is what allows us to create more appreciation for someone or something. Does that make sense? So it's really important to create this sense of space. It's really important to create this sense of space. Without this sense of space here in the middle, without any space, you're going to see value go down. There's literally no value. So it's really important between when we're in relationship with another person that we have space, because that space allows us to recognize that, wow, I really care for this person. I really love them. I want to be around them. I value the time. I enjoy the time that I spend with them. Without this spaciousness, what happens is we start to take people for granted. Does that make sense, you guys? Beautiful. So it's really important to recognize the connection between space and value. The more space you have, the more value you have. Now, there is a breaking point. Hey, Michelle, good to see you. Hey, Julian. It's really important to not go too far. So I'm going to bring up my screen here again. it's really important to not go too far, because what happens when we go too far is this. I'm going to erase all this. We'll bring in a new one. So if this is, I'm going to put space equals value. So we'll put space. Oh man, there's the brush. Space equals value. Okay. Now, the other aspect of this is too much space. So too much space, that equals loss, no relationship, right? So there, in everything, there has to be what I call as breathing room. Breathing room allows us to value the things that we value in our life. So if you have too much of one thing, what usually happens is you no longer start to really value it. You lose that sense of value for that thing you have. So spaciousness, creating spaciousness in your relationships will allow you to not take that other person for granted, and it will allow you to enjoy the relationship more and more. Now, too much space equals a loss of the relationship. So it's important not to come from a, like, if you have too much space in the relationship, usually what starts to happen is you'll start to feel a loss of connection. And that's obviously never healthy for any relationship. So it's really about finding what is that breathing space? What is that contraction and expansion? Okay, I'm contracting into myself. I'm getting away from my significant other or my spouse for a little bit because I just need that time away. And then when I come back out, I can breathe and I can reestablish the relationship and value it again. Whenever we spend too much time on one thing, what happens is, if we spend too much time in one thing, a lot of the times what will happen is we won't want it around anymore. If it's around us all the time, we just start to take it for granted. So it's really important to have that space, but not too much space. You want to have what I call is breathing room, contraction and expansion, contraction and expansion. If you look at everything in the world, everything in the universe, it's all about contraction and expansion. The universe itself, we know, is something that's contracting and expanding, contracting and expanding. Our breath, look at what we do with our breath. We inhale, and we exhale. Contraction and expansion. So as you honor your own contraction and expansion more, you'll feel more in tune with yourself. You'll feel more connected with life. And that's really important. That's really, really key. You'll feel connected to everything. I'll give you a great example of this. Like when we go to bed, what happens? We sleep and then we wake up. It's the same. There's the night and the day, contraction, expansion, those binaries. And it's the same with your relationship. Spaciousness gives you an ability to open up, feel spacious in the relationship, taking care of yourself, and then coming back to the relationship with more energy, more vigor, and more excitement that you guys are together. Beautiful. So let's go into some questions. I'm going to bring up some of the comments here. Michelle says, absence draws the heart fonder. Yeah, that's definitely a part of it, Michelle, for sure. Absence does tend to make the heart fonder. What other questions do we got? I'm going to go to Silent Grove's comment here. He says, wow, based on space, it means a lot of people love me because I hardly ever see them. Right. Okay, so like I said before, if there's too much space in the relationship, then that might not work for you. That might not be the best thing. So it's really important to find something that's very balanced. It's really important to have enough spaciousness, but not too much spaciousness to the point where you say, okay, you know what? I don't even feel the connection at all. We want to We want to feel the connection and live from that space. I'm going to go to Jenny. Jenny says, yesterday was just 5 years ago that my husband passed. So I'm going to sit this one out. Yeah, Jenny, I just want to give you some space and acknowledge you. I'm sure that's hard, and I'm sure you're going through a lot right now. And really, the best thing I think for me, I know I've been around death a lot in my own life. I had a lot of friends die in combat, and close ones die from health issues. And whenever there's an anniversary, one of the things that I do is I just recognize that death is a natural part of life, and I grieve and I cry if I need to cry, and I grieve if I need to grieve. But then I also give it the due diligence that it's needed, and I also celebrate the times that I had. And it's important for us to do both. I think it's important for us to grieve when we need to grieve, and I think it's important for us to celebrate and be joyous when we need to celebrate and be joyous, and honoring both aspects. You know, I love when I've heard, I don't know if you guys have heard these, but they talk about celebration parties after someone passes, a celebration of life. That's a beautiful way to live. Yes, grieve the person, grieve that they're gone, but at the same time, celebrate the life, the good life that you had. Celebrate the time that you spent. What a gift from life that we got. I hope that helps. I hope that helps a lot, Jenny. What other questions do we have here? Any other questions? Does this make sense, guys? Are you guys seeing the connection between space and value and too much space and loss? I think it's really important to recognize that when we have too much space, right? When we have too much space, we tend to lose that sense of the connection itself. But we also need space in order to value that other person. And so a great example, Jenny was just sharing with everyone that her husband passed 5 years ago. Well, yeah, it's great to grieve that loss, but at the same time, you can celebrate it as well. As human beings, we need to honor both sides of us. It's not just one or the other. We need to honor both. We need to honor the hurt, the loss, and the pain, but at the same time, we also need to honor the fact that things change and things are always shifting. I'm going to go to Julian's question here. Julian says, how to know there's the right amount of space between two people? That's a great question, Julian. So really, it's up to you. I think that's what's most important. It's really up to you. If there's too much space between you and another person, you'll be able to know it. You'll start feeling like there's a loss of connection. So I think that's the best way to understand that's probably the best way to understand it. If you don't feel like the connection's there, then chances are you may want to be able to connect more with that other person. Too much space, you'll start feeling a loss. You'll start feeling a loss at the heart level. Does that make sense, Julian? I hope that helps. All right, we got time for one more question. Any other questions that we got here, guys? Beautiful. Well, thanks for joining me on the live. I hope you guys watched the interview from this morning. If you haven't, check out the interview I did with Ray Mayor. It was a great interview. We talked about Tantra. We talked about orgasms and energy and sexual energy. And we really went deep, and there were some really interesting topics that we covered. So if you haven't watched that, please check out that interview. That went earlier this morning around 8 a.m. It's already posted on my channel, so feel free to check that out. If you guys have any questions, comments, or thoughts, or want to reach out and connect with me, check out the link in the description there. You can sign up for the Sacred Relationship series that we're doing now. That's in the description box. Also, if you want to contact me and connect, just check out the link in the comment section. And if you have any other questions or thoughts, feel free to reach out. Other than that, that's all I have for this time. Thanks so much for joining me, you guys. I want to leave one last note here. Jenny, if you're going through a rough time because this is the anniversary for your husband, just want you to know that you're not alone, and any grief or sadness that you might have, there's also good things as well too. And just do whatever is natural for you. If you need to grieve, then grieve. And if you want to celebrate, then celebrate. And all are okay within your experience. It's okay to feel and experience all of those things. And if you want to reach out and connect, Jenny, feel free to check out the comments section, and we can reach out and connect for a bit. Beautiful. If you found this information helpful, guys, please share with any family or friends. I like this work going out to the world, as it helps people. And if you have any thoughts or comments, feel free to share your comments and thoughts. Have a great day, everyone. I'll talk to you soon. Enjoy the weekend. Stay safe.